a healthy tension of trying to evolve, to grow, to become better than we are, to find our true purpose and to discover meaning in life is what we're here for, is what God has us here for. And when we medicate it away, most people will tell you when they take modern day medications, how do they feel? They don't feel better. They don't feel elevated or they feel numb. Right? We engage brain chemistry to numb out the highs and lows. What else are we numbing out? We're numbing out our calling. We're numbing out that tension to become better than where we are, to grow and to evolve.
Welcome to the In Pursuit Of podcast, brought to you by CBHN, the Christian Business Harvest Network. These episodes highlight and celebrate those who are passionately pursuing their God-given purposes, leaning into our faith to rise and challenge the boundaries of possibilities.
Ladies and gentlemen, today we get to hang out with my friend Dr. Dan. I have to tell everyone, I'm a little intimidated. I am. And here's why. Anytime you jump on a podcast, you probably do these little prep sessions and say, okay, we're going to have a great conversation. What should we talk about? What do you think will be valuable and meaningful to an audience? And I couldn't land because there are so many areas that Dr. Dan can speak to. And you're going to be excited about what unfolds here, because I give you a guarantee that both of us have submitted ourselves to the Father, and he's going to do what he needs to do through this conversation. Dr. Dan, welcome once again.
Thank you so much for having me. It really is a pleasure. I've been looking forward to this conversation for quite a while, especially after finishing up your book. And it's funny that you say that there's quite a few things I can speak on. Most days I feel like, wow, there's just too much going on up here, and I've got to get it out either through writing or speaking or working with my clients. So I'm glad you were able to hopefully make some succinct findings in those things I study and share.
Well, let's jump right in with what that is over the left side of your head right there. Or your left side or your right side? No, I think that might be your left side. Meaning Academy, right?
Correct. The Viktor Frankl Meaning Academy.
Can you
Something
tell us about
we
that?
sure we so a good friend of mine who found me through my podcast on the other side of me, the Meaning Project podcast years ago, contacted me. He said, hey, we both study this really cool field of what Dr. Frankl calls logotherapy, the psychology of meaning. He said we should do some work together. I said, all right. What's your name again? He said, I'm Rabbi B. I said, Rabbi B, that seems to indicate some heritage there and some learning. So, yep, I was a rabbi for a while, and then I went into this logotherapy field, and now I do some coaching and consulting. We got together and we started talking about the psychology of meaning a couple years ago, and both of us felt, more people need to know about this. Through my graduate studies, I was always told to, hey, you got to pipe down with that idea. I said, Doc,
Okay,
more people need to know about this.
and just before you continue there, for all of us on this side of your journey, logotherapy. What is logotherapy?
That's such a good question. I get so wrapped up in talking about it, I forget to introduce what it is. Logotherapy is the third school of Viennese psychology, right? So most of us know about Sigmund Freud, father of modern psychology, and his student, lesser known as Alfred Adler. Well, my mentor, Dr. Viktor Frankl, was corresponding. I like to joke that he was actually emailing Sigmund Freud back when he was 15 or 16. All right. So we didn't have email back then, but he was corresponding with Freud back then. And he said, I've got these ideas. And Freud said, you sure do. And, Dr. Viktor Frankl goes on to study, becomes a neurologist, psychiatrist. He comes up with these ideas that man is a being in search of meaning. And then, of course, we have World War II, and he's a Jew in Austria, and he is taken to Nazi concentration camps for 3 years, where he actually has to put these principles to work for himself. So not only are these theories, but these are ideas and principles that were truly validated in the fires of the Nazi concentration camps.
Yeah. Meaning, purpose, and now he had an opportunity to prove the third leg, which is resilience.
Absolutely.
It's one thing to talk about it, but to be about it is another thing. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, we're in conversation with Dr. Dan. here's the challenge that arises with what you just said. All right. So
Mhm.
I'm going to pose a challenge. What's this new age psychology conversation that is seeping and infiltrating the church? All we need is the Bible, and that is enough.
Mhm.
Now, who is this Dr. Dan coming with this conversation about all this psychological stuff?
Mhm.
How do you
Well,
wrestle with, or how do you help folks with that perspective?
oh, well, I love to because my particular area of psychology, logotherapy, was the first branch of psychology to recognize this third dimension of humanity, right? The initial psychology talked about mind body, the mind body relationship. Logotherapy comes in and says, whoa, 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 we have a spirit. There's something deeply unique about us. This defiant human spirit that makes us who we are, and it's the storehouse, the toolbox of all of these resources we have a hard time identifying: humor, love, defiance, being able to take a stand, responsibility. So, in its early phases, it recognizes spirituality, and in its maturity, one of the ideas we have in logotherapy is that everybody is pursuing a deeply personal relationship with what we refer to as ultimate meaning, but most of us know it as God, right? And so we do that through study, through studying the Bible, through studying ancient wisdom texts, and we grow. But in modern times, we recognize there is a psychological component that we can either grow and foster along with our spirituality, or sometimes can become quite unhealthy in our spirituality. So I think we need to address both of those, all three of those: mind, body, and spirit.
There's this study, obviously, component, and there's a science to what it is that you're doing.
Mhm.
And it's methodical. It's, hey, we have to, in our human capacity, be able to order our minds to create learning opportunities for others. So we create this path and pattern from a scientific perspective.
Mhm.
You introduced another word. You're saying, hey, so you got the science, and then you have this defiance where, when the Bible says, let your yea be yea and your nay be nay, at some point you have to decide and stand up for the truth of who God is, who you are, and what everything around you is. And you kind of have to pick sides. So there is this defiance. But what you're introducing is a third layer of reliance now. You're saying, okay, in the journey of the soul to figure that component out in logotherapy, you're saying, hey, let's ensure that God is a part of that triune approach. And you're saying, hey, mind, yes, body, yes, but soul, and beginning to rely on God to unlock the science and the defiance of what we're supposed to say yes and no to, and our understandings. Did I capture a little bit of what you're saying? Or can you just correct
Beautifully.
that a little bit?
Absolutely. That is so well stated. I can tell you, as a classically trained psychotherapist some 25 years ago, we were given a manual of diagnoses and mental disorders. And we were trained, okay, these are the things you should go out into the world and fix. And I can tell you, in the 25 or so years that I've been doing this, very few people I've come across fit those narrowly defined diagnoses. What I've encountered more, and especially through my studies now, being able to refine that, is sickness of the soul, of sickness of the human spirit. People feeling disconnected from themselves, from each other, from their loved ones, from God, feeling profoundly disconnected. In the times when we're supposed to be one of the most connected societies to ever exist, people feel distant, distant from themselves, from their spirit, from their God, from each other.
Okay,
And that's a
so
lot of the amazing work I get to do.
in that journey right there, when we're heavy mind and body, uh, how do you see that transition going into, i- i- you know, enveloping and bringing that into the mix, that soul, when you talked about, hey, the sickness in the soul, when you're seeing that fractured focus because people, there's something missing. There's that, what we would say in Christian circles, that God-shaped heart, or you're right, that God-shaped missing puzzle piece in the heart. in a practical way, when we come back from this short break, could you share with us some like 1, 2, 3s potentially of how to begin to bring that into the fold? Is that all right?
Absolutely.
We'll be right back.
My name is Siddique.
Hey, it's Tracy Mighty.
Hi, my name is Albert Brandstetter. I am an investment advisor with National Bank Financial. I've been an advisor for over 35 years.
And the CBHN community has allowed me to connect with like-minded professionals that have helped reshape my career goals with the added benefit of strengthening my faith journey.
And CBHN has helped me uncover and rediscover the passion for entrepreneurship.
And I have to tell you, what I have learned and gleaned from the others who are part of CBHN has brought me to new heights, not just in my career, but personal life as well.
Come to CBHN every Thursday at 7 p.m. and you will see the amazing promises of God that He has for your life come to pass.
I think you should take a look.
Ladies and gentlemen, well done. A Passionate Pursuit of Purpose is now available. This book was written so you don't have to leave your eternity to chance. It's for someone who is a little restless and simply looking for their next move, but doesn't know where to begin. If you feel like there is still more in your core to explore, and you want to experience the fullness of what was deposited within your DNA, then well done. A Passionate Pursuit of Purpose could be the very tool you need to send you in the direction of your destiny. Available now on Amazon and welldonebook.info. That's welldonebook.info.
Ladies and gentlemen, of course, today we're in conversation with Dr. Dan of the Meaning Academy. Just before we went to break, I wanted to challenge Dr. Dan because I need to get deep now. Now, this is the session, this is the part where we get deep with some practical and tactical takeaways that you can apply in your own life. We're not only here to have a great conversation, but it's for you to be able to have something that you can apply to your life as soon as this episode is over. Dr. Dan, how do you infuse God into mind and body if that's been your entire rhythm for majority of your life and you haven't really known who God is?
Most of us have attempted and hopefully succeeded in reading the Bible. Many of us start and love Genesis. Exodus is really good, powerful storytelling. And then we get to Numbers or Leviticus and all the begatting and all the rules and laws. And usually by the 4th or 5th chapter, that's, man, I tried again. And I can tell you, for me, it was truly life-changing work. And I share about that every chance I get because it really was. First of all, in those first few months, I was thoroughly depressed. My goodness, my God, why is this so depressing? So many people, everybody's so mean to each other, and God's angry a lot. And I went on and I sought some guidance, and what I received was comical and enlightening. And I was told, that's why there's the second half. We have to go through the first half, the Old Testament and all the difficulties for the good news of the New Testament. I thought,
okay, so
that's so
are you
obvious.
saying then that sometimes in our life that sometimes you got to go through hell to get to heaven? Now, I'm not calling the Old Testament hell, guys. Don't, ladies and gentlemen, don't misinterpret that. What I'm saying is, when you're saying in our daily life, do we always have to learn the hard way? Is it always going to be paved with hardship before we realize the friendship of God? Like, is that a pattern that is universal? Is there another way here?
Not one. Yes, the modern way is, if you're struggling, we have a pill for that. Ooh. And you can get a prescription for the next 30 days to help you feel so much better. And when you're done with that prescription, the problem is still there, and you haven't dealt with it, and you haven't struggled through it. You haven't wrestled with God the way you need to. So in my work, in my life, yes, and that really that comes right from the psychology of meaning. We all deal with what's called the tragic triad: pain, guilt, and death. We cannot escape these. It's part of the human condition. We all suffer in life, but we have a choice.
The last one was pain, guilt, and debt?
Death. We're all going to die. We're all terminal in this life, right? And we can choose how we go about dealing with that. We can deal with it and work to conquer those obstacles, to allow them to shape us and grow us and bring us closer to God, or we can crumble underneath them.
It struggles in your achievement and struggles through your achievement. and you can't. There's this sense of separation. No, it's part of the process of your progress, and it's baked in it. Like it's like I just wanted a Big Mac, but you're going to get the fries with that anyways, whether you want them or not, right? Like you don't have a choice in the matter. Can you share how we deal with accepting the struggles in our achievement? Just one of the the underpinnings of your messaging.
Well, first of all, I love that part in your book, right? I started reading that. I'm like, where is he going with a Happy Meal with fries? What does that have to do about purpose or God? And where you went was beautiful. And so to take that idea, like you got to eat the fries too, right? I mean, you don't want them. We don't want to suffer. We don't want to struggle. But truly, anybody that gets to the other side recognizes, right? Can look at, wow, that shaped me. That was hard. I didn't want to go through it, but I got there. And so how do we do it? I mean, we recognize that we'll be better on the other side. We read great stories or listen to podcasts of other people that have been through it to our brothers and sisters and recognize like, man, I can do this. And maybe I can't. It might crush me. But if it does, I'm going to learn something from it. I love telling the story, if I may, really quick. Years ago, as a young man, I lost $1 million. $1 million. I started, I was the director of a Midwest area substance abuse treatment center, traveling, seeing different places, helping people in different ways. I was in Detroit and Cincinnati and Indianapolis and Chicago. And one of the things that come out of that, my boss said, you should really consider this real estate investing thing. All right, I'll get into it. And I got into it, got in way too deep. 2008 happens, lost tons and tons of property, had to declare bankruptcy. It was humbling, it was embarrassing, and today I am proud to say it is one of the best moments of my life to have lived through. It wasn't fun then, but I take lessons from it every day.
Okay, so when we come back from the short break, that's a little dizzying to say. Losing a mill, was one of the best experiences that I ever had. And this is why I wanted Dr. Dan on the show, because he has perspectives that we're protecting against. And he's here like, God, have your way. We're going to take a short break and we'll be right back.
Ladies and gentlemen, well done. A Passionate Pursuit of Purpose is now available. This book was written so you don't have to leave your eternity to chance. It's for someone who is a little restless and simply looking for their next move, but doesn't know where to begin. If you feel like there is still more in your court to explore, and you want to experience the fullness of what was deposited within your DNA, then well done. A Passionate Pursuit of Purpose could be the very tool you need to send you in the direction of your destiny. Available now on Amazon and welldonebook.info. That's welldonebook.info.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the In Pursuit of podcast. Today, of course, we're in conversation with Dr. Dan. We're hearing about meaning, purpose, resilience. We're hearing about being in search of meaning, struggling through achievements. We're hearing about reframing a loss as your elevator lift to get to the places and spaces that you honestly feel God has reserved for you. This concept of what you said earlier, just I want to circle back to that just for a minute here. You said, hey, if you need a fix, there's a pill for that, but the pill won't ever fix that. When we talk about antidotes, and there are many antidotes for the various things that we get to deal with, how we deal with them is a choice. What we deal with sometimes is not a choice, but how we deal with them certainly is. Can you share from your experiences just the concept of antidote?
Well, I believe attitude is the antidote. As you said,
Okay.
we mentioned earlier, pain, guilt, and death, the tragic triad, we all deal with it. But how we deal with it, we get to choose. As the good doctor says, my mentor, life has meaning under all circumstances, even the most miserable. And his life is a testament to that. And the stories I've read throughout my studies in the psychology meaning, but also other studies or stories with that lens, those who have suffered and chosen to suffer heroically and turn it into an accomplishment are some of the greatest stories we read and we know throughout our history.
When you're scaling, 1 to 10, the constructs of meaning or purpose, where is it okay to aspire to be like great so the whole world knows your name? Is
Mm.
that not, is that anti-humility? Is that too much pride or arrogance to just be the best version that you feel that God has designed you to be? Uh,
Yeah, I
How
would
far is too
say,
far for when it comes to pursuing purpose?
well, my example earlier, $1 million in real estate was too far for me, right? I was outside my wheelhouse. I was outside my expertise. I was outside my calling. And I
Oh,
had to learn a lesson from that, right? I
oh,
was
okay.
outside my purpose. That wasn't what I was meant to do, but I was trying because I thought, well, this will be an easy and quick path to wealth, right? To fame, to people knowing. I didn't care about people knowing my name. I just wanted to have money to take care of my family, and maybe too much for where I was in life. I think when we aspire, I believe, my field believes, we should always be seeking to grow. We talk about just one word, becoming as a source of psychological and spiritual health. We should always be seeking to becoming what we are intended to be, what God intends us to be. We are here in life, but we know we all feel this existential calling to be greater. And there's this beautiful tension in the middle of what do I do? How do I get there? What should I be? Your book illustrates that wonderfully. And unfortunately, that's the antithesis of modern society today. If you feel tense, well, you should take a pill for that. You should not feel this existential tension. You should just feel easy going
Oh,
and flat all day long.
oh. Are you saying sometimes what we're actually trying to quench is the desire, the very desire to get us to the other side of our obedience is the very thing that we're uncomfortable with and we're trying to medicate?
Absolutely. I believe, my entire field believes, tension, a healthy tension of trying to evolve, to grow, to become better than we are, to find our true purpose and to discover meaning in life is what we're here for, is what God has us here for. And when we medicate it away, most people will tell you when they take modern day medications, how do they feel? They don't feel better. They don't feel elevated they feel numb, right? We engage brain chemistry to numb out the highs and lows. What else are we numbing out? We're numbing out our calling. We're numbing out that tension to become better than where we are, to grow and to evolve.
That's a dangerous place to be, is in the mushy middle
Mhm.
where you're really not defining anything. So you cannot refine what you do not define, but you're not even in a state where you can actually have hard lines because everything is just kind of numbed and the lines
Mhm.
get blurred in that
Mhm.
state.
Absolutely. It's very often. Now, don't get me wrong, in a psychological sense, there are times people's brain chemistry is thoroughly physiologically off and they require some form of medication. But in our times today, we live in a medicated society that struggles with discomfort, that struggles with this tension. And I think it can be one of the great downfalls of modern society. We need to embrace that tension. By embracing that tension, we become better individually. When we become better individually, our families become better, our communities become better. When we
Okay.
are all discovering meaning together, the world becomes a better place.
It's absolutely fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, we're in conversation with Dr. Dan of the Meaning Academy. If that is an area of your life where, like, hey, you know what? I've been avoiding, ignoring, maybe not medicating, but you've just been busy with being busy. Because look, making money for your family is a good thing. Taking your kids to all the activities that you signed them up for, they're not bad things. But are they placebos for the purpose that you really should be spending more time on? Dr. Dan, what are you in pursuit of?
Oh, that's beautiful. Bringing this message to more people. It's ironic. It just hit me again this morning as I closed the final page of your so well written and inspirational book. I said, "What's next? What am I going to be reading next? Why do I get up and have my coffee and read?" I said, "No, no. It's time to create. It's time to get out there." And I have many notebooks with ideas in it. And I said, 2024 is going to be a year I have to share these ideas in a different way, and that's what we're doing at the Meaning Academy. We launch our first big project, Your Search for Meaning, in January of next year. But I've also had a ministry of reaching out to those struggling with substance abuse for a long time. I created a new way of helping people in that. And it's worked far greater than I could have ever expected in my local community. And I need to get that out there.
But you know what we all need? We all need people to help guide us along that path. Sometimes life happens and people throw their shovels and buckets of dirt on it, and we feel buried. Listen, again, it might not be your fault that you feel buried, but it is your responsibility to heal and to come out. Reach out to people like Dr. Dan. Reach out to anyone in your community at church that is willing to take the time and make the time. Partner with the people who are there to partner for your prosperity. Dr. Dan, once again, thank you for making the time, for being with us here today. We're going to do this again. Thank you once again.
Absolutely my pleasure. Can't wait to chat again.
Thanks for joining us on the In Pursuit Of podcast. Definitely follow us on our socials and consider this your personal invitation to join our Thursday night CBHN Zoom calls at 7 p.m. EST as we challenge each other to pursue the fullness of what God has for our lives. And remember, Matthew 7:7 says, "Seek and you'll find." We pray you too will walk in the fullness of your purposes.